clipping.
Now, a pinhole camera is not a very good way of seeing. It does produce a sharp image, but because it's so narrow, you hardly get any light in. The answer to this problem is that ingenious device, the lens. Nautilus has a pretty poor eye compared with its relatives, the squids and octopuses, because they do have a lens. And so we can't help wondering, why doesn't Nautilus have a lens? Why didn't it evolve a lens? Well, I suspect that Nautilus may have got itself stuck on a little peak some way up Mount Improbable. You see that although we've got one big peak there, there are various other peaks on the way. There are quite a lot of them. And since the rule in evolution is just to keep going uphill, when the ancestors of Nautilus came up the track here, up the path here, and got to this point, that way uphill looked just as inviting, so to speak, evolutionarily, as that way. Both of them were uphill. Evolution has no foresight. Evolution has no way of knowing that if you travel up that way, you're going to end up with a lens. For the moment, this appears to be a perfectly good way to travel, because the pinhole camera at this level of illumination is an effective eye. So I wonder whether perhaps Nautilus has got itself trapped on top of this little hillock and is now unable to escape, because escaping would mean going downhill into the valley, and the one thing you cannot do on Mount Improbable is ever go downhill.
Is this guy crazy? Oxford professor, reputation of one of the great geneticists, writes book after book, he's honored. What? I'm telling you, this is just a... You can't stop laughing. This is just a tiny sample. He has built a worldwide reputation as a great scientist, supporting evolution on what? Myths, out of his imagination. He built this whole model here out of his imagination, but he takes it very seriously. I'd love to have you follow him. In the book, I take a little trip with Dawkins up Mount Improbable. But I explained that before you can even get to the base of Mount Improbable, you got to pass impossible swamp and unscalable cliff. I'll tell you a little bit about it, but anyway, we do have a little fun. Listen to this. Darwinian evolution proceeds merrily. I'm quoting Dawkins, once life has originated. But how does life get started? Well, the origin of life was a chemical event or series of events whereby the vital conditions for natural selection first came about. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, explain it. So Darwinism doesn't explain the origin of life.